Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign and today we're going to go over the patch notes for Eve Echo, see if they've done anything, which I pretty much doubt so far because it's so close to the insurance version 2 coming out. Now before there's 1,000 comments saying I'm coming back to Eve Echoes, I'm not. I did say I will be following the news, I did say I will be giving updates on patch notes etc. just to see where the game is going in the future and to keep you guys updated on my opinions on how it's going over time. This doesn't mean I'm going back to play the game. And I feel like I should still be the voice for people who want to know what's going on in the game, especially since there aren't that many content creators that do this. But we'll get straight into this week's update. Seems they've changed the title of the first initial part, which is now optimizations instead of new features. I guess they get something right. Maybe they actually listen to my complaints. So we have number 1, optimized skin icon for all ships. Pointless, not needed. Number 2, the default display for star charts are now based on the last display mode used. Quality of life, that's okay. Number 3, text in the chat field no longer deletes when failing to send a corp mail. I've never sent a corp mail, so that doesn't really affect myself in particular, but I guess that will affect a very small portion, a small player base of corp CEOs and alliance leaders, etc. Number 4, they have the total item value displayed in a kill mail. It is now based on the estimated market price of that week. It's a pretty decent change. I mean, it doesn't actually affect all that much, but you do get a better indication of how much your corp was killed in that week, etc. Now, I don't know if that affects the insurance at all, since it's not a death mail, it's just a kill mail, so I don't know if that's going to affect the actual insurance. They added a button for insurance in the station menu just to make sure that everyone knows that the insurance exists. I mean, who doesn't know it exists by now? It's been literally in the face of everyone for weeks. Number 6, initiating a personal asset delivery now requires a manual confirmation by typing confirm. Suppose that'll help some people, not really an interesting change. Number 7, the recommended purchase amount of IP has increased to 110% of the estimated value to avoid frequent alerts due to fluctuating estimates. So now you have to buy more IP, which is going to cost you more plex to be able to get that insurance. Seems a little bit shady there, but I suppose it does help without the frequent alerts always annoying you when you're undocking. That was a big annoyance of mine, especially when it kept changing over and over again. I kept on having to buy more and more plex depending on what the prices were on the stuff that was being bought. I suppose it helps in the long run, but it seems like a little bit shady. Number 8, adding an explanation for non-compensable cases on the compensation page. Add an explanation for compensable. Is that a word? I don't think that's a word, but I'm not exactly the guy to go to on the English language. So it just lets you know why you can't be compensated for that, blah blah blah. Number 9, added a button to the insufficient IP prompt that directs you to the IP purchase page. There's a lot of little insurance changes on here. If they're going to be doing the insurance version 2 and there's going to be all these changes for insurance version 2, then why are there all these small little updates to the current insurance system? So that just must mean that it's not actually going to change all that much. Number 10, change the rules for sharing mission locations. Now you can share the mission destination link in the chat channel even when you are not in the mission destination system. Other players can initiate autopilot to the target system by tapping on the link. It's a good change if you're running those storylines in fleets. It makes it a lot easier than everyone having to search the individual system themselves. It's a pretty decent quality of life for more group play. Number 11, added a secondary confirmation when donating is to the corporation wallet, just in case you're clicking that donate button for no other reason other than to send ISK to the corporation that you're working with. There's a lot of confirmation stuff going on. I mean, it literally says donate. There's no difference. Okay, that's just me probably being silly. Number 12, the safe log-off option is now available whenever you are able to warp your ship. The safe log-off timer has been adjusted to 5 seconds. Players under the following states cannot log off safely: warping, having an active criminal timer, entering a station, self-destructing, and within the window of invulnerability after leaving a station. I wonder why they added the safe log-off timer. It's kind of an odd change. I mean, this may fix the fact that people could just warp off by switching character when they're getting caught in gate camps, etc. It can be done. It has been done for a long time. That might get rid of that. Who knows? Just seems like a bit of an odd thing to add on there with no explanation of why they're adding that 5-second log-off timer, but I shouldn't expect any explanations, to be honest. Number 13, improve the button layout in tips, allowing players to find frequently used buttons more easily. It's a pretty I mean, that's okay, it's a quality of life, there's not too much on there. Number 14, remove ship recovery access in the customer service center in the future. For ship losses caused by bugs, go to settings, customer service, ship recovery, and send a ticket to receive help with compensation. There's no more automatic systems. You won't be able to do any of that. You will only be able to do, if it's a bug, you send in a ticket, they will check the bug and then compensate you if the bug is verifiable, which is better because there's not like free stuff going to anyone, but it's definitely going to have a sort of time. It's going to take a little bit longer for you to actually get your compensated ship, so you could be logging off for a day if you've only got one ship, etc., and it's a bug kill. I don't know if they've actually still got that rule in place where you have to do the IP anyway, then they reimburse the IP, which is a shitty system. Why should you have to pay for an in-game fuck up? That's just my opinion. Number 15, updated estimated prices according to the current market transaction records. That's every week. They do that every downtime, so that's not changed. That's not really new. The autopilot confirmation will now only pop up after the transaction has completed. I don't know, that's just a weird sort of translation error, I guess. The autopilot confirmation. Oh, okay. So I understand what this is now. The autopilot confirmation will only pop up after the transaction has completed. So when you buy something off the market and you go to pick it up yourself, you click to go pick it up yourself, then it will do the autopilot confirmation for you if the transaction was completed. I guess there was an issue where if you actually bought it and then it reimbursed you, it still sends you off to that. I don't know. I have never had that issue before. There's only been a few times where I've gone to buy something and it's not been there and I've been reimbursed the money. So you have a couple of bug fixes. Fixed an issue where the hangar would not be delivered after a corporation citadel was destroyed. Number 2, fixed an issue where the weapon timer would sometimes not appear while attacking capsular outposts. And number 3, fixed an issue that caused irregular activation times for some modules in certain situations. That number 3 needed to be sorted out. It was a big issue for a lot of the activatable modules, especially some of the weapon modules. You'd be clicking and clicking and clicking, it wouldn't activate and activate and activate, and 10 seconds later it'd start activating, but you've clicked it so many times that it turns itself off. That shit wound me up something chronic. So that'll be a pretty decent change on there. So that's all we have for the sort of new features that aren't new features anymore. The optimizations, they've changed that, considering like I used to complain about that shit all the time. Bug fixes, actual bug fixes, it looks like they're getting their shit together when it comes to the actual patch notes, which is good. So we'll start off with some actual news that's been going on around the Discord and stuff. I'm still keeping an eye on stuff. I really do want the game to succeed. I really do want some stuff to be changed. I really want some priorities to be changed. And I really want the devs to be able to do some things that will make the player base happy. So I am keeping a close eye on all of this. One of the good little additions they're doing is the player support news, where they're adding all the information. So like servant reinforcement stuff, how is the bonus and damage calculated. So it's giving you some decent actual mathematics behind the actual systems themselves. What factors influence the respawn mechanics of anomalies? How do mining belts spawn? It gives you quite a lot of good information on there for those newer players. Ship recovery rules updates. It gives you updates on all the customer servicey type stuff, and then obviously giving you a little bit of information. And it's also started to give some tips to avoid ship loss. Now if we look at these, so as an example, we have how to calculate warp scramble strength. I had 3 auras and the warp scramble strength is only 5. Why was I unable to warp? The warp scramble strength is the result of the warp disrupt points on you minus the warp stable points you have. So that means that they just had more points than you had actual warp stable points. So it doesn't show how many points they had, it shows how many points over what your base is, which is quite an interesting fact for people to learn, people to know. It's good stuff there. Another example is how to check the debuff icon. The debuff icon showed 1. Doesn't mean that there's only one warp disruptor point. It doesn't show the amount of points that you have on you. It just shows you that there's one of those modules on you. So they've changed all the ship recovery rules. So the PvE battles cooldown timer is over before blah 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 blah. So it tells you what the not eligible ship recovery is. Your account was ever banned in the past 30 days. It's the same stuff. Your ship tech level is below T3. The ship was destroyed more than 30 days ago. You are in the cooldown time for PvE ship recovery. And they've also changed up a few of the rules when it comes to the PvPvE. Battle with more or equal to 7 players. It is not a bug that causes the ship loss. Your game account was ever banned in the past 30 days. So make sure you come and check these rules out before you can do this sort of manual recovery with the customer service. The weekly ban notice was massively high for that same amount of time as all the others. From March 12th to March 19th, they killed nearly 60,000 accounts. That's got to be most of the bloody player base. Like that's a noticeable amount of accounts that have been banned. Now, were those accounts used? Who knows? Were those accounts used on a regular basis? Who knows? The massive majority of them were running the abnormal anomaly behavior. That's 80% of those 60,000 accounts were actually either botting or doing something naughty when it comes to the actual anomalies. Now, I did get sent some information from a fellow CC that now all content creators are going to be getting their free Omega Duos. Thank you for giving us that when I was still a fecking content creator. That is amazing. A little bit of saltiness there for you. As soon as I leave, they start putting up player support news every day. The patch notes are written well. Everything's done in a good way. It's just like, yeah, we were just waiting for Soft to get so pissed off he left, and then we're going to start doing it properly. Conspiracy Theory 101. The devs did wish me the best in the future and they were sad to see that I was leaving. Joseph, on the other hand, was a fucking nightmare to talk to. It just felt like I was talking to an automated customer service response system, where he just picked out certain parts of the conversation that weren't negative and answered those points. Like, he actually asked me why I left the game. Like, what specific reasons did I leave the game? You're supposed to be the community manager. You're supposed to be the guy who runs the content creators. You're supposed to actually watch their content. Especially when an absolute legendary motherfucker like me leaves your game. That should be 10 minutes of your time that you do actually take to listen to the fucking community. Right, so that's all we have for the Eve Echoes update for this week. You guys will likely get the insurance version 2 next week, and I'll probably be doing a video on that as well, depending on what the changes are. Remember that I will be doing updates on news in Eve Echoes. Just because I'm not playing it doesn't mean I'm not going to be updating everyone on the news. There's plenty of YouTubers out there who do news updates that never play the actual games themselves. This is not a new thing. I'm not crawling back. I just want to keep in front of the news and all of the changes that happen in the game. So if I do decide to come back, that I don't come back with my actual blinders on if they do fix the game and sort out those priorities. Right, I want to thank you all for watching. Remember to like and sub if you haven't already. This is your one-stop shop for all the Eve Echoes news and updates. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.